We're going to go game by game, matchup by matchup, and identify those must-start players for your fantasy football lineup. On top of that, we're going to look at these games and see how the fantasy points could be scored in these matchups. But before we dig in, you need to drop your start-sit questions in the comment section below. I'll answer them late Saturday night. If you got some coin flips, go with your gut, but I'm going to help you with your gut. Look at it that way. Look at some rankings. Average it out together. Go with your gut. This is big time right now. If I'm answering a bunch of questions, some of them are going to be wrong. Don't take it one for one. Go with your gut, but I'm going to help you out tonight. You need to click that subscribe button right now. We do this every Saturday. We're helping you with your lineups. We're helping you with your questions. And on top of that, we go deep on the waiver wire. We do a lot of deep dives on these players with the You Need series. And we use the Must Start series to help you set your lineups. Click that button. Stop missing out. We're looking at our first matchup here for today. And it's the Ravens versus the Giants. And I'm expecting this game to be a little bit ugly. But there's going to be some fantasy production here, especially on the Ravens end. I look for the Ravens to roll here pretty good with Tommy DeVito out there at quarterback. I look for them to do well, 42.5 over under. It could be a low-scoring game due to that, with most of the points on the Ravens' end. However, we could hit the over. I'm not really trying to guess that. I'm just trying to guess how fantasy points could be scored. I can definitely see the Ravens road dogging. And how that could break or be closer than expected is if the Ravens get in their own way. Derrick Henry, I don't think anybody's going to bench him. And if you are, let us know why. But I think he's going to be started by most or almost all fantasy gamers. Zay Flowers is a guy that's going to be hotly debated, but sometimes you're going to have to start him. He's one of those players that will go off on your bench and not in your lineup, but he did have a good run earlier this season. You're looking at the tight ends for the Baltimore Ravens. Just like any other tight end, it's up and down with them, so you're just going to have to just pick one and roll with it unless you got a better option that's getting more targets on the weekly. You're looking at the Giants here. Malik Nabers is in. Look for him to soak up targets. The targets may not be great, though, but look for him to soak up targets. Wan'Dale Robinson getting some short targets. He's been kind of cooling off, though. Tyrone, Tracy, can we bust out a big game? Can we get that? Can we cross the goal line? The workload should be there. He's very explosive. He's one of those running backs you're just going to have to put in and see what happens. You're looking at the tight ends for the Giants. You're not trusting him because Malik Nabers is soaking so many targets. And I don't think anybody's starting Tommy DeVito unless they're in a deep super flex league or they're playing around with daily fantasy football with the cheap salaries. Now we're looking at the Chiefs and Browns. We got a 43 over under. We're expecting this game to be interesting. Because every game's interesting with Jameis Winston. He doesn't care. The Chiefs' defense is nasty. The Chiefs will force the Browns to be creative. When you're thinking about creativity, look at Elijah Moore getting moved around. Maybe he gets some extra targets. He's a dart throw. He's a gamble. Jerry Jeudy's been hot lately. Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford sharing the backfield. This is a bad matchup for them. But you're looking at the Chiefs side here with Isaiah Pacheco getting run, getting work, being explosive. You're looking at the wide receivers here. Xavier Worthy is a pop gun wide receiver. He'll break your heart on the bench. He'll break your heart if you start him. But he's been having a decent run here lately. DeAndre Hopkins, we're seeing the targets go his way. Travis Kelce is about the only guaranteed play here for the Chiefs. As the Browns' defense is a little bit sticky. David Njoku's questionable. Watch for him. But with Cedric Tillman out, might get more targets, especially those red zone looks. Commanders and Saints, 43.5 over under. Derek Carr is doubtful, so we're looking at Jake Haener. And the news might be different by the time you watch this video, but Alvin Kamara is just going to get so much work. He should volume into some fantasy production. Kendre Miller's a dart throw. You're looking at MVS, and maybe not as hard now. You do not know what the deep balls are going to look like in this offense. You do not know what the targets are going to look like. But the Commanders, Jayden Daniels, can he roll? Can we get a push downfield? We should get some rushing production. Brian Robinson getting the work out of the backfield with a mixed bag between Nichols and Rodriguez. Terry McLaurin should go off in this matchup. Should at least get targets. He's been pretty sound throughout the year. He had one bust week since week 3. That being said, he should be pretty sound when it comes to workload. You got Noah Brown out in this game, so targets should be funneled more to him. Zach Ertz is an interesting tight end because he's getting workload and targets. He just has to get that touchdown for him to be fantasy viable. Bengals and Titans. Jamar Chase, like always, because who's going to bench him? Let me know if you are. I want to hear about it while you're doing that. T. Higgins, deep upside, deep ball city, getting a good target share. We're also looking at Joe Burrow in a matchup here with a 46 over-under as a fringe QB1, low-end QB1 upside. Will Levis is a dart throw in deeper leagues, but not really in traditional 12 to 10-man leagues. That's a bit of a risk. Might be looking at Tyjae Spears in this matchup because he's got some opportunity here if Tony Pollard's out. Calvin Ridley, Nick Westbrook, gamble wide receivers up and down all season long. Nick Westbrook had that touchdown run, but can we get it done against the Bengals? Going back to the Bengals, looking at Mike Gesicki, he's getting volume in this offense. Can we get that touchdown? Dolphins, Texans, 46.5 over-under in this game. And we're looking at Tua. Can we push the pace? If the pace gets pushed, we're scoring a lot of points on both sides of the ball. That's what we're looking at here. And if so, Tyreek Hill hits, Jaylen Waddle hits, and Malik Washington might be a good gamble play in like daily fantasy football, not in traditional leagues. Devin Achane, I don't see many people benching them unless they're absolutely blessed at the running back position. You're looking at the Texans. Nico Collins, touches, targets, everything. 7, 9, 11 in targets in his last 3 games. Tank Dell, volatile option. John Mechie, you're not looking at him. Dalton Schultz can get work, but he hasn't been consistent this year. When you're looking at this game, this is one matchup that could go off this week. If you're making stacks in daily fantasy football, this is a game to look at. You can run it back with both teams. You can really make stacks on both ends. This is a good matchup for fantasy football. Cowboys, Panthers. I'm looking at Chuba Hubbard pretty hard here. Jonathan Brooks is out. Chuba Hubbard's going to get all the work, and he's been meat shielded all year by Jonathan Brooks and Miles Sanders. So he's going to get a good workload against the Cowboys defense that's giving good fantasy points to running backs. Bryce Young has been decent for fantasy football. Adam Thielen's been seeing an increased workload, getting more snaps. Xavier Legette's dealing with a hand in his shoe, but he's still playing. Jalen Coker is back, so expect him to get a little bit more work. And now we're looking at the Cowboys here. Rico Dowdle is decent, is a good running back, very explosive. We got a good matchup against the Panthers. This could be his time to shine. CeeDee Lamb, like always. Jake Ferguson, like always. But you're not 100% in love with it due to Cooper Rush. Jets, Jaguars, 40.5 over-under. Looks like Breece Hall is going to be back. So we're putting Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis kind of at bay. But we're still watching them from afar because we do not know what the workload's going to look like for these running backs. It could be rather icky. Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, they're getting the targets, and they have been pretty steady when it comes to workload. Off and on, kind of when it comes to production, but very steady when it comes to workload. This is a good matchup for this team to really do something, though they've been a slow-paced offense. Jaguars here with Mac Jones and company. You're not trusting it. Brian Thomas Jr. is about the only player you're trusting from this team. The running backs you're playing with in your lineups really depends on how you're built. If you're stacked at running back, you're not looking at these running backs. But again, this is a nasty matchup. Vegas is saying that with a 40.5 over-under here. You may want to stay away. However, it's a good contrarian play for daily fantasy football. If you want to make some stacks here, that could get you over the top in a big tournament. Colts, Broncos, 44 over-under. It's the Bo Nix era, and Courtland Sutton's got a good matchup here to go off, and he's been getting a ton of targets since week 8. 11, 10, 9, 8, 10, 9. Just getting volume. And you're going to have to chase the volume. The opportunities and upside with him. Bo Nix coming back from a bye week, looking to go off. Anthony Richardson going to get you some rushing production. And we got Michael Pittman, Josh Downs questionable, and Alec Pierce. You're not trusting any of the wide receivers. You're not going forward. Josh Downs, if he's back, you're looking at him. But you're not trusting anybody here. Jonathan Taylor's got a rough matchup. Hopefully he can break free, and hopefully he can cross the goal line. It's hard to bench him. When you draft Jonathan Taylor, you don't really have that many more options to look at. Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime, you're not trusting any of these running backs. Jaleel McLaughlin's been the hot hand recently when it comes to touches, but it could be any guy when it comes to this game. Devon Bailey could be an interesting piece. He's been sneaking fantasy production here and there. Troy Franklin gets targeted on like 22% of his routes ran. However, he's not running enough routes or seeing enough snaps and volume to be relevant in fantasy or consistent. Marvin Mims shows up on the box score every so often. That's a testament to Bo Nix because he's spreading the ball around. Bills, Lions, 54.5 over-under. You're starting everybody in this game. And if you have any questions with an ancillary player, pick them from games like this, 54.5 over-under, and just pray to the fantasy gods because there should be more volume. Not always. Not always. But that is processed from Vegas. Vegas is saying this is going to be a high-scoring game. Because if we were all expecting it to not be, we would be slamming the under right now. We would be doing that. But Vegas is saying, hey, high-scoring game right now. Josh Allen, I don't see anybody benching him. Jared Goff might be a fringe start for some people who are jacked at quarterback. This is a good matchup for volume. Amon-Ra, you're not benching him. You're not benching Jameson Williams unless you're jacked at wide receiver, but he's got some upside in this matchup. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, they're solid week to week. James Cook, nasty matchup. But we might get there or get solid points, solid as in like 10, 11, 12, just through the volume of this game. But maybe we get hampered a bit due to that Detroit Lions defense. You're not really trusting the Bills wide receivers. Khalil Shakir is the most stable option. Amari Cooper might sneak out some production. Keon Coleman's back, so be aware of that. That could make things a little tricky. Dalton Kincaid, questionable, but it sounds like he's going to be back. Sam Laporta's up and down. He's not getting as many targets as last year, around 15% target share. His ADOT's low. He's got to score a touchdown. He's got to score a touchdown. Steelers, Eagles, 43 over under. This one's probably going to be an ugly game that's explosive in spurts. I look for that to happen. When it comes to the Eagles, you know what you're going to get. You know what you're chasing here. A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, your mainstays. Grant Calcaterra might sneak a touchdown here. Devonta Smith could blow up on any given Sunday, so you're looking at him pretty hard. You're probably going to have to start him. Jalen Hurts can get you some rushing production. Russell Wilson's looking to cook in this matchup. George Pickens is out. He is out. He's got the O right there. So you're looking at other receiving options. Look for Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris to get some work. Look for Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin. Play around with those wide receivers if you need be, but we got a 43 over under. You may want to roll with something more stable. Pat Freiermuth might be a tight end you're chasing this week due to George Pickens being out of the lineup. Patriots versus the Arizona Cardinals, 46.5 over under. We're always going to be looking at Trey McBride getting the volume in this offense. Marvin Harrison Jr. is up and down. He's got a lot of upside. He's got a lot of downside. And I think I saw a stat where he does not have many games where he's hitting that 9 to 12 fantasy point threshold. It's either here or really low at the bottom. So it's just a risk you're just going to have to make. I don't have anything else to really tell you there. James Conner should get volume in this matchup like always. You know about him. And this is a good over-under to look at for him with a 46.5 and a spread of 6. Ramondre Stevenson, Antonio Gibson, gambles, but with volume coming both their way. Gamble running backs, Ramondre Stevenson getting volume, Antonio Gibson siphoning some of the volume out of there. I'm not trusting them 100% this week. You got the carousel effect with Demario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, and Kendrick Bourne. Any of those wide receivers can do something. Demario Douglas is more stable with fantasy production. Kayshon Boutte is getting the most work out of the three. Kendrick Bourne has been explosive. Hunter Henry's been good week to week. Drake May, I'm not trusting in the playoffs unless you're in a deeper league. However, he's getting you a little bit on the ground. He is pushing it downfield. Bucks, Chargers. Mike Evans, good to go. Deep targets downfield. He's Mike Evans, so you know what you're doing with him. On top of that, Jalen McMillan could be another surprise this week. I look for him to give you a surprise game somewhere down the line. This game, next game, game after. We got a good schedule here for the Bucks. I don't know when, but I look for it to happen sooner than later. Rashad White, we're looking at him. We're watching Bucky Irving. He's got the Q next to his name. Sean Tucker, if Bucky Irving's out, he'll get more touches and opportunity. We know what he can do with more workload. Baker Mayfield with a game that's at a 45.5 over-under. He's a good gamble quarterback for this week to look at. Kate Otton's getting good volume here. We still got to crack the red zone. The odds are a little bit more likely with him. I don't think you like the running backs with the Chargers, but you got to do what you got to do. Gus Edwards, Waddle. You're just hoping to hit the end zone here. Watch Ladd McConkey's health status for this matchup. Quentin Johnston is a gamble wide receiver. He's either going to make you cry in your lineup or make you cry because he scores on your bench. That's the type of wide receiver you're looking at. I cannot say he's going to do either or. I can definitely say he's going to do one of those things. If you start him, he's probably going to make you cry. If you bench him, he's probably going to make you cry. Packers versus the Seattle Seahawks. 45.5 over under here. Jayden Reed did not look good last week. 6 targets the week prior. So honestly, you're looking for him to turn things around. Romeo Doubs is back. Christian Watson stretching the field. So we might air it out a little bit more with the Packers. And we got the Seahawks matchup here at 45.5 over-under. The game script might get pushed. There's no guarantees. That's why it's the carousel effect. The carousel effect means that any given wide receiver in that offense could go off. Also, considering that, there's a floor here for some of these other wide receivers too. That being said, any given Sunday for those wide receivers on the Packers, Josh Jacobs, volume, touchdown opportunities. Manny Wilson, you may want to look at him. However, we're looking at Seattle. Kenneth Walker got the D. He got the D, so we're looking at Zach Charbonnet. Did well last week. Should get work in the passing game. You're probably going to have to start him due to the touches. Really depends on how blessed you are at running back. DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith, and Jigba both have been good this year. Both should get volume in this game. However, both defenses can be tricky, and both offenses can be tricky on the other end. That being said, things could slow down a little bit. We're also looking at Noah Fant. He's a guy you're not really picking up at the tight end spot, but maybe in deeper leagues. Bears, Vikings. Justin Jefferson, like always. Jordan Addison has some upside here. Can Caleb Williams push the pace? That's what we're looking at the most. And DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson are questionable, so you might be looking at Travis Homer here soon. You might be looking at him. Wide receivers, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze. Can Caleb Williams push the pace? They're getting volume. They're getting opportunity. They're going up against the Vikings. The Vikings are a faster-paced team. However, they will be slow a little bit, but they identify as a faster team in pace of play. Justin Jefferson, though. Can he explode and get things pushed so the Bears have to push things in garbage time? Looking at that, TJ Hawkinson, the volumes are going to be there. The opportunities are going to be there for him in this matchup. Those are the matchups rolling into Week 15. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.